Oh, just a minute. Oh, there we go. All right, I'm just going to adjust this here. Okay, this does not mean I'm going to break out into song. Good morning, my name is Christine Enns, and I welcome you here today for our whole community ensemble-led worship service. Thanks for joining us. We do have a few announcements. I would like to start with a thank you to everyone who attended and volunteered at last Sunday's turkey dinner. It appeared to be very successful, and thank you especially to those folks who turned up after the service, and magically, honestly, it was within about 15 minutes, all of our tables were set and decorated and ready to go with chairs and the works. It was just such a gift that that volunteer time was offered. So thank you all. It was really lovely to gather again in a group and have that kind of fellowship. I also want to draw your attention to, at the back when you leave, there's a baptismal card. Next Saturday, in a private ceremony, Heather Ainsworth's son Thomas will be baptized, and so of course we would like the congregation to be able to share their greetings on this special day, so the card you'll find at the back. And we are very excited to welcome Valerie back next week, and I'd like to invite you to stay after the service for pie. We're going to have a little pie party, I guess we could call it. So I hope that we'll see you there and we can welcome Valerie back. There are other announcements, I know. Aaron with Outreach. It's not on yet here. No, not yet. Sorry, should have had that on. Okay, it's ready to go.
Good morning. My name's Erin James, and I'm with the Outreach Committee. And as we're approaching Christmas again this year, we are looking at supporting the 2 women's houses that we've supported in the past. One is Our Place, and there are 10 women there that have been there. Some of them have been there for 18 or 19 years. This is their long-term housing. And the other facility we support as a church is Buffalo Den, which are women in transition. Most of them are of Indigenous background. So we provide them with gift baskets or gift bags with items for our house, Our Place, that is things they will need, whether it be, in the past we've done sheets, we've done towels, individual items, and for the Buffalo Den we do items that they can take with them. So it's more along personal hygiene items and socks, mitts, toques, things that they will need. We are asking for monetary donations to be given to the office, attention to the Outreach Committee, and with this money we provide the things, we go out and purchase the things that are needed. In the past, we have gotten individuals to do it. With COVID, we've changed all this. So if you can consider anything, any amount of money that you can donate, it would be appreciated. As we know, the costs have gone up over past years for everyone, so we make our money stretch by going out and shopping and buying the things that we can when we see the sales on. So thank you very much, and any donation will be helpful.
And Ray.
Good morning. I'm Ray Horlack, the treasurer for the church, and just calling everybody's attention to the fact that our mortgage is up for renewal at this time. We currently have a mortgage in the amount of about $350,000, just over $350,000. I think, as everybody knows, the interest rates have been going up recently quite significantly. And just on a basic renewal, our mortgage payment would go up by about $5,000 or $6,000 a year, depending on what rate options we choose at this point. Of course, at renewal time, we are able to reduce the amount. We do have some reserve funds, some excess funds that we have accumulated over COVID and so on, and we'll certainly be applying some of that to the mortgage. But if anybody is thinking about a contribution to the church for year end and so on, remember it's tax deductible. Now would be a great time to do that, so that we could reduce that mortgage as much as possible as we go through the renewal here. and basically reduce our payments. Right now, we're paying about $57,000 a year to that mortgage, principal and interest. Again, based on the renewal terms that are proposed by Service, our lender right now, that could go up to about $60,000. We will reduce that again with some excess funds, but again, anything that can be provided from the congregation would be great. Have a good week.
Ray, what's the timeline on that? Like, when does the negotiation happen for the new
So
mortgage?
the mortgage renewed on the maturity date of the mortgage was October 1st.
Okay.
And I've actually been talking to them for several months now, and I just got renewal terms in the middle of October. I actually went back, and they came back with a 1/4 point decrease from their original proposal, for what it's worth, but it's still a significant increase from where we were at. We were at 4.35 before. They're proposing anywhere between 6.55 and 7.05, I think it is, or 7.3 right now, depending on the term. So again, about a three plus point increase in our interest rate.
Thanks. Is there anybody with other announcements? All right. Before we officially begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional territory that we're on. Long before those of us who are settlers and those of us who are descendants of settlers came to this land, there were people here. Many nations of people lived and live on the land we call Canada, given responsibility by the Creator to be stewards of this land and all that lives on it. Today, as we remember what it means to live thankfully, let us give thanks for the Indigenous peoples of this land, and let us remember that we worship God on the historic and unceded territory of 17 First Nations in central Alberta, including the Dene, Cree, Nakota Sioux, Saulteaux peoples, and others. As Christ's people, let us be people of love, of truth, and of reconciliation. Please join me in singing the introit from More Voices number 7, Gather Us In. And now for our call to worship. As we prepare to plant our heels into the ground, feel free to join me. As we prepare to plant our heels into the ground, we want God's love to take root. May we be equipped to do the work that we are called to do and have the ability to withstand the storms of life. Let us lean into our calling with joy and enthusiasm. And our opening prayer. Come to us, holy God, as we gather before you. Encircle us with your love. Gather us, ground us in you. Bless us with your sustaining presence. Surround us with your grace. Gather us in, root us in you. Call us by name. Call us to grow in faith. Call us to be made new. Gather us in, ground us in you. Amen. And now we'll sing our opening hymn, I'm Going to Live So God Can Use Me, found in Voices United 575. Could I ask the children to come forward for a children's story? Wonderful. We have some cat ears. A little bit the day before Halloween. Come on, closer. All right. Today we're going to talk about roots. What are roots? What do you think? Wow. When a plant grows, the roots go down into the soil to help them get water. I think I probably should just wrap up my talk right now. And so that also answers a question about what do they do. So we're going to learn a little bit more about what roots do by a bit of a show and tell story, and this is adapted by a book called What Do Roots Do by Kathleen Kudlinski. What do roots do for their plants up above? They hold them up straight when the wind gives a shove. They hold them upright when the ground's on a slant, like a mountain or a hill. They hold them in place if you play on the plant, like grass. Plants are all thirsty. They use roots to drink, like this plant, pulled from my garden this morning. So there's all the roots down there. I'm going to try not to let any of that dirt fall. They use the roots to drink. The roots branch out small and then tinier still, and then the teeny root hairs drink the thirsty plant's fill. The roots suck the water in and then send it up high through tubes far too tiny for to see with your eye. In a tree, here's my little diagram. In a tree, the water flows up through rootlets and taproots, then to the trunk and the branches and the twigs, and then each leaf's drunk all the water it needs. No matter what tree you see, only half of the tree is in vision for you, and the other is hidden underground, that strong root system holding it solid. In your yard full of grass, weeds, and clover, you could see all the roots if you turned the dirt over. But you wouldn't do that. It wouldn't be wise. When you break off its roots, the plant often dies. Food grows in the garden in vegetable rows. Some ripens in sunshine, like this kale pulled from our garden out front. No, the church garden this time. The kale grows up, and this is the part we eat, and these are the roots down below. So some ripens in sunshine, but some hide below, like this carrot or radish or potato and beet. The underground root is the part that we eat. So here's your kale, and here's your carrot. And this part, we don't eat of the carrot, but we eat this part. And here are the roots, and we eat this part that grows up top. It's kind of confusing. All right. So under every plant is a whole root system, like in this plant. You can even see, probably should replant this, the little roots peeking out underneath, coming through these little holes that help the water go into the plant pot. Under every plant is a whole root system. So whenever you see a plant, short or tall, remember you don't see the whole thing at all. So, did you learn anything new about roots? I kind of think you had a pretty good understanding at the beginning. She's shaking her head. I got to up the quality of my lessons, I think. But this is the linking part. In the rest of our service, we're going to discuss roots, but not just the roots of plants. We're going to talk about the roots of our faith. So, if a windstorm blows really hard, you hope that a tree has really strong roots so it doesn't get blown over. You've probably walked through the forest at times and seen a tree that's blown over, and you can see its whole big root mass showing. It's no longer alive because it's fallen in the forest. So we really want our faith in God to be strong and our roots to be strong in that faith, so that if a wind blows in our life, like something goes not the way you had hoped or expected or planned, then you are able to just stand upright and carry on and be strong. So I think that Crystal is going to talk a little bit more about that concept downstairs, and so I hope you have a great time down there. Thanks for joining me. I don't think you want to eat this carrot because I left it out last night. It's a little flimsy. So we're going to move into our hymn. In the bulb, there is a flower. That's Voices United 703.
There is a flower in the seed, an apple tree. Sorry, I have a bit of toing and froing to do this morning, so I will. Okay. Scriptures today are, first one is from Ephesians chapter 3, verses 16 and 17. I pray that, according to the riches of his glory, he may grant that you may be strengthened in your inner being with power through the Spirit, and that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, as you are being rooted and grounded in love. The second is from Mark chapter 4, verses 2 to 6. He began to teach them with many things in parables, and in his teachings he said to them, listen, a sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seed fell on the path, and the birds came and ate it up. Other seed fell on rocky ground, where it did not have much soil, and it sprang up quickly, since it had no depth of soil. And when the sun rose, it was scorched, and since it had no root, it withered away. Now I'm going back there for the anthem for Turn, Turn, Turn. Pete, see. goodness. Okay. So the genesis of this service actually started with summertime and with Valerie being away, and also the combination of St. Paul's and Riverbend United services this summer. Valerie thought, well, hey, you know, who do we have that could cover services and that knows St. Paul's and Riverbend? And so they thought, hey, George, you grew up at St. Paul's and your dad still goes to St. Paul's and you're a big part of Riverbend, so you should do the service. And so, you know, I thought, okay, that's okay, I can do that. And so because St. Paul's was a big part of my roots in the United Church of Canada, and so that spawned this whole sort of theme that you've seen today of roots. It was originally supposed to be back in July, and almost was, and of course, George decided that he should come down with COVID about 3 days before the service. So anyway, so there was some mad scrambling, and Tom Sawyer graciously stepped in to give that service, which was fantastic. So when they asked if I would do this service today, then you know, we thought, well, heck, you know, the theme is still appropriate, and so that's why we're talking about roots. So I wanted to tell you a little bit, some thoughts on my roots, and a bit of a challenge on our roots go forward. So, you know, I grew up at St. Paul's, and the United Church of Canada has been a big part of who I am today in so many ways. And so I certainly have roots at St. Paul's and growing up in the United Church. But I also have a lot of roots in Riverbend. You know, we've been here for over 20 years now, and, you know, I look out at the faces here and certainly have a lot of roots here. But, you know, early life at St. Paul's, I have so many memories of potluck dinners in that basement, of making handmade ice cream, and, you know, lots of discussion and, you know, Sunday school and exposure to lots of people there. But the other thing that it gave me was lots of exposure to music, which created a lot of my musical background. You know, I started off in the junior choir at St. Paul's United. That was where I started, and went on to the To Be Alive choir with Marv Walden. Some of you know Don Walden was our first minister here, I think. So, you know, a lot of my musical background came from that exposure that became so important to me. And, you know, it was access to the junior choir and then more. And then, you know, the second thing that was probably a very profound influence on me was that the United Church of Canada sponsors the 𝗪𝗪 Youth Parliament. And so 𝗪𝗪 is training under Christ in service. And, you know, for sort of for 15 to 21-year-olds. And, you know, at that time of exploration of faith and who you are, you know, to be in that setting with a lot of, you know, similar folks, but also very different folks, you know, it really gave me a time of exploration and also within the, you know, the debate and parliamentary setting that formed, you know, again, a lot of who I am today. And so, you know, this basis of having both the music and then sort of the Christian elements, I think the other thing that, you know, formed a big part of who I am is, you know, back when I was, you know, in Sunday school, we didn't have affirming congregations then, but I would suggest that St. Paul's and similarly Riverbend were certainly affirming congregations even then, you know, in terms of being welcoming, the approach, the diversity of people that were a part of St. Paul's congregation, and, you know, you could see that we're actively involved and encouraged to be part of the congregation. So, you know, I think that created a lot of my background. But then it went beyond that as well, because when time came when I had graduated from university, or even in university, then St. Paul's also had a lot of business leaders in the community. And so my first job came directly, my youth group leader, Catherine Ward. Catherine and Cam Ward were a big part of St. Paul's United for a lot of years, and she gave me my first opportunity, and it was because she had that exposure to me, and so that's gone on to create a big part of where I am professionally. It was a really good opportunity for me. I see that that carries on. I look to the 𝗍𝗵𝗶𝗹𝗍 of our community that look out for my kids, and I look around at others, and I still think that's an important part. I just wanted to share a bit of my roots and how important that is to me, and but I guess for me, the challenge go forward. I'm always about talk is cheap, and so we've got to keep doing things and keep making a difference. So Marv was razzing me because I think we're doing Go Make a Difference as the closing hymn for the third time this month, but I insisted on it. So it was like, we're gonna go make a difference, because I think it is important, so I do look around, and the thing that concerns me is that we don't, that we're not carrying on this as well as we can be, because there's a lot of gray hair in this room, mine included, and I think those things are so important in our society, that we seed that United Church culture as we go forward, and whether it's through our music, through our faith, but really as prominent people and leaders in the Edmonton community. It frustrates me a bit that you seem to need to be radical to be making a difference, or radical to be making a stand. I look at some of the congregations that have these radical stances that became so prominent in COVID, and I don't want us to be that. I want us to still carry that forward, the United Church ideals, but maybe we need to be more radically centrist. I don't know, but I think we do need to keep pushing, to keep finding ways to engage the youth and the young adults and the adults as they come, because it does concern me that the United Church across the board, which I believe so deeply in, is still becoming smaller and smaller as we go. I think it starts with conversation and discussion, but I hope we can take that and create some new beginnings to continue to grow our wonderful church. So there's some thoughts from George. And now I'm going back over there again for some more music.
by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, please bless these seeds I sow. Please keep them safe below till the rain comes tumbling down.
So good morning. I think it was last Sunday, George and Marv came up to me at the end of the back of the sanctuary and said, do you want to get involved where, the ensemble's playing? Of course I go, yes, because I meant music. Then they stretched that out and mentioned that perhaps I would share a reflection on a theme of roots and wings. And I did say yes. First of all, I want to share what came to mind when asked to speak on that theme. A quote came to mind. And the quote is from author unknown, but it is as follows. There are two things we should give our children. One is roots, and the other is wings. So I grew up attending the Christian and Missionary Alliance Church in Grand Prairie, Alberta. And I did grow up in that church. I was dedicated as a baby, went to Sunday school as a child, made lifelong friends at Pioneer Girls, attended youth group on Friday nights, so much fun. There was Bible camp, and of course, we always went to Sunday service as a family. We attended that church my whole childhood and youth, and I returned to that church as a young adult when I moved back home for my first job as a music teacher. That church was essentially my second home. And similar to George, my first musical experiences were in that church. I remember the congregation singing hymns in 4-part harmony. We had a wonderful choir. And my mom, sister, and I occasionally sang trios up on the stage. Yes, in front of the whole congregation. I have a vivid memory of us performing a Gaither trio called, first I should say, my dad loved gospel trios and quartets. And thus, I have a vivid memory of us performing a Gaither trio called God Made Me Special, with the repeating phrase, I'm the only one of my kind. That phrase, sung by my 4-year-old sister, with the ad-libbed content of, my sister cleans the playroom, I see the bird gets fed, had impact. Believe me, she was a scene stealer, and we were a tough act to follow. In that church, I witnessed and absorbed faith in action. A church family that supported and cared for each other through crises and calm, a congregation that served each other and their community. And one should mention the powerful impact of adults, other than my parents, that cared about me and were interested in what I was doing. This had an incredibly powerful influence on me. You know these people. They are the Sunday school teachers, Bible study leaders, youth group leaders, the minister, the choir director and choir members, board of directors, the coffee makers, bakers, and turkey basters, and each of you who give your time and talent to get things done. In addition to the organized aspect of church, there were always informal gatherings and celebrations that grew strong friendships and lifelong relationships. I became a Christian in this family, and it provided the foundation to grow my faith. Music is an integral element of the fabric of my life, It has always been a vehicle by which to participate in and share my faith. It became my career and has provided exposure to other cultures in very concrete and intangible ways. A few experiences that stand out for me are when we lived in Ontario. I was one of several music teachers at Thornhill Secondary School in Toronto. I had the rather intimidating opportunity to direct the concert choir and the jazz choir. Bands, no problem. Conducting choirs was kind of new to me, so I sought out skilled mentors and was open to the experience. The diversity of cultures and faiths in that group of high school students was astonishing to me. Remember, I grew up in Grand Prairie. My choir had a lot of Jewish students, Eastern European immigrants, and Muslims. We sang everything. A well-known spiritual witness that has the word Jesus in it. 𝗏𝘗, Hebrew Song of Hope. Seasons of Love from the musical Rent. More spirituals, Bach, Vivaldi, African folk song, and so much more. We learned to share our musical gifts with each other, explore cultures, and we learned to listen and accept each other. Many years later, I had the opportunity to play my flute in a small orchestra and sing in the gospel choir for the annual Christmas Carol concert of the International Christian Community of Provence. The locals love coming out for the traditional carol sing at the end of the performance, and the place is always packed. Performing in Aix Cathedral, a national monument of France, built on the site of the 1st century Roman Forum of Aix, built and rebuilt from the 12th through the 19th century, including Romanesque, Gothic, Neo-Gothic architecture, Roman columns, and a baptistry from the 6th century Christian church, was a humbling experience, and I am still in awe. I checked their website last night, and just saying, the International Christian Community of Provence has an annual Christmas Carol concert, and there is always a place for you in the choir. Okay, I'm getting nervous now. Playing my flute in the Banda del Centro de Música de 𝗍𝗑 was an open invitation into Spanish culture, the chance to experience it from the inside out. Religious festivals, fiestas, and concerts in yet another ancient cathedral was woven into my experience in 𝗍𝗑. I will always remember a solemn procession at dusk, bringing the icon of Jesus of Nazareth to rest in the Church of San Bartolome. Imagine a somber community lining the narrow streets with candles in hand, dignitaries, priests, and nuns setting the pace ahead, the band in formation playing a traditional pas doble, children straggling behind, and then the clamor of church bells tolling upon entering the square. Memorable, yes. I hold all of these experiences close, and I'm so grateful for the roots that gave me wings to reach out to them. Know that in my relationship with this church family, I have witnessed and experienced the same values of acceptance, service, and love in action, and all of it embedded in a strong foundation of faith. You are a congregation that reaches out with open arms and hearts to our community in the inner city and our neighbors in Brander Gardens, inspires fellowship and builds community with food, planning and preparing meals together with our neighbors, and even delivering it to their doors during the pandemic. And then there's the music. Where else would have I had the opportunity to play guitar solos for Hotel California and Stairway to Heaven on the flute? Really, music means everything to me. In addition to that, you've accepted and included me and my family. You lift us up, You've given us roots and wings. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Like George, I also have roots in St. Paul's United, but I'll get to that in a bit. My original church roots were 100% Lutheran. My father was a Lutheran minister, so my church roots go deep in the Lutheran church. Growing up, my dad usually had rural parishes with 3 or 4 churches in different small towns, such as Edinburgh, Alberta, New Norway, Ď Kindersley, Saskatchewan, giant metropolises. And it was not uncommon for us kids to go to multiple services in a week, which may explain why after I left home, I sort of rebelled a bit and did not go to church much at all for a few years. You could say I was spiritually adrift or uprooted. However, my church roots were strong, and I was eventually drawn back to the church. It started when I met my wife, Christine. She had strong United Church roots, and we started going to St. Paul's United. I found that the United Church teachings aligned better with my views than the Lutheran Church did, so I put down some new shoots. We were married at St. Paul's, and our children, Ben and Emily, were baptized there. We wanted to give our children the chance to grow their own church roots. Shortly after Emily was born, we moved to Riverbend, and after a few years of driving right by Riverbend United on our way to St. Paul's, we decided we should join the church in our neighborhood, and we did. As for my Lutheran roots, they're still there, down there somewhere, and they get along nicely with my United Church roots. What are your roots? Have you put down new roots? How do your roots affect your actions? The scripture reading for today from Matthew 13 read, "But when the sun had risen, the seeds were scorched, and because they had no root, they withered away." Because they had no root, they withered away. Roots run deep. Roots provide nourishment. Roots give you strength. Roots are vital for life. Please rise as you are able and join us in singing Like a Healing Stream, More Voices 144.
So, it's time for if any folks have any joys and concerns from the congregation.
Sure. Just a quick shout out. Last night, Diane and I had the great pleasure of going to a recital put on by the Edmonton Opera Association. It was the culmination of the inaugural 22 Roumbald Vocal Prize, which was sponsored by Grace and Arnold Rumbold and the Rumbold family, of which Dave Rumbold is a member here. Part of that team that developed this program included our Sherry Steele as well, who's our regular pianist, not here today. But anyway, I just wanted to put a shout out to the Rumbold family and those in our community, in our midst, that are doing great things.
Hester and Glenn Campbell, who usually sit at the fourth pew back there. Glenn is in hospital at the University Hospital. He's not doing very well. He doesn't recognize Hester when she's there, so she's not visiting. And Hester's at home, but her family has come from Calgary, Lethbridge, and Tabor, I think, and they make sure that she's getting support at home and having her regular needs met. But let's keep Hester and Glenn Campbell in our thoughts and prayers.
It's been a challenging week. I think you may have heard, or you will soon hear, about the loss of an educational visionary in our community, Dr. Meyer Horowitz. His daughter, Debbie, is a dear friend of mine of 50 years. And he had struggled with his health over the last few months and passed away on Monday. And on Friday, the flags at the university were at half-mast in his honor, so we made sure that a photo was taken and sent to the Horowitz family. And hot on the heels of that news, the very same day, we learned of the couple that introduced Marv and I. They have 5 beautiful children, and they live in Langley, BC. And their 29-year-old son had been involved in a drastic collision on the Coquihalla from which he was rescued, and it was determined that he would not regain consciousness due to a massive brain injury. The beautiful transition from this life is the fact that Aaron was an organ donor, and there are 5 people who have this healthy young man's organs in their body now as of Thursday. And so we can be, I guess we can go forward with that thought. So I, on behalf of Aaron and his family, encourage you all to consider organ donation.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask for some prayers for my family. My father is having a long-awaited hip surgery on Tuesday, and he is my mom's sole caregiver, and she has dementia, so we really need a speedy recovery for him so that he can take care of her, and so just would like to ask for your prayers for that.
Any other joys and concerns? A lot of concerns today. Part of my roots growing up, my father's best friend since he was a child in Winnipeg, Dr. 𝗖𝗵𝗶𝗹𝗁𝗍 in Calgary, lost his wife of 60-some years, Gwen, passed away this week, who is a very dear family friend, and so we send blessings to the Burgess family as well in Calgary. Creating God, we thank you for the gift that is life, for day and night, for sun and rain, for seed time and harvest, for strong roots to withstand the storms of life, for the beauty of creation and life itself. We thank you for the gift of life. Loving God, we thank you for the gift of family, friends, and community, those who know us so well that they know when to hold our hand and when to let go. We thank you for those people who journey with us in our times of joy and especially in our times of sorrow. We thank you for the gift of love. Compassionate God, we thank you for holding us in troubling times. We pray for those who are journeying through illness, awaiting medical diagnoses, those with life-threatening and degenerative diseases. We know that we do not journey alone, but that you are always with us. We thank you for the gift of compassion. Challenging God, we thank you for writing your law upon our hearts so that we are called to seek justice and to love kindness. Thank you for moving us to action and challenging us to be your hands and feet in a world so desperately in need of healing. We thank you for the gift of challenge. God of all time and place, we thank you for the gifts of life, love, compassion, and challenge. Help us to know that each small individual action together with another's can make a difference to the world and make a world of difference. Amen. Our offering, as you know, we don't pass the offering plate in COVID times, but we encourage folks to engage with the church financially as well. The folks online, and there are elements at the back also for your offering. God is good. Everything that God does is for good. It is natural that we who benefit from all that God-given good are grateful. We express our gratitude with our service, with our use of our time, and with our financial resources. We invite you to make a financial gift now through whatever vehicle suits you best. Pre-authorized remittance, dropping your contribution in the offering plate as you exit, or by donating online. Lord, help us to feel thankful for everything that you've given us. We worship and praise you with our gifts. Our prayer this morning is that through us, the world will see Christ's light and come to know your goodness. Please take our gifts and those given through PAR and use them to strengthen the United Church's ministry here at home and everywhere in the world. Amen. Per my earlier comments, our parting hymn is Go Make a Difference.
Go out into the world, living in the light of Christ. By the power of the Spirit, do all the good you can, by all the means you can, in all the ways you can, in all the places you can, at all the times you can, to all the people you can, as long as ever you can.